This is Rapiola Cine, Mr. Real Non-Stop Talent, Reggaeton Directo La Promo. And once again, I am delving into the depths of the gamer world. And not only that, but I am with a man that is known as the man with the dulcet tone voice. So you hear him start talking and be like, oh my God, he's so beautiful. Directly from Windows Central Gaming, the one and only Miles Dompier. Welcome to the show, Miles.
What is going on? How you doing on this fine, what day is it, Wednesday? We doing this Wednesday? I don't know. Everything starts to blur together, but I'm excited. I'm ready to dive into this with you. And thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
No, it's a pleasure. It's really cool that I send you a message and you responded quite quickly, which I was like, yo, that's so amazing. Cause when you don't like personally know somebody or like me, I'm known more like in the media world of actors and singers. So when I go with people that are in the gaming industry, some of them tend to be like, okay, you're known in Telemundo, but I don't know you. So I'm very grateful that you didn't like rethink it so much and you had accepted.
No, I'm always down to hang out and chat. I, again, appreciate you reaching out. Yeah, I had somebody ask me the other day when I went to GameStop if anybody on the streets recognized me, and it just makes me laugh that like anyone would even consider that, because in the grand scheme of things, I'm just some random dude on the internet talking about video games. So the fact that anyone cares to listen is it's interesting to me.
Yeah, you can't be a random guy with the dulcet tone voice. It doesn't go that way. So Miles Dompier, that last name to me sounds like it's French or it's from the old world. Am I on to something? Do you have like an ancestor that is from France or some area in particular, or am I just making up stuff?
Yes, so I'm French Canadian, very exotic. So I grew up in Washington State. A lot of my family lives in Washington, Oregon. So there's a lot of French colonies in Canada. So that's where my family originates. My last name, if you are French and you're feeling fancy, it's actually Dompier. Dompier is the double R-E. But in America, I kind of pander it to the Dompier. But yeah, technically it's Dompier. And yes, I am French Canadian.
See, I knew it was onto something. And I was like, yo, this has to be. But I was like, he says Dompier on the internet. So let me just follow his lead. But I knew that it was like a little slight difference in the way it is spoken, because my brother, his name is Charles Peckham, and he's French Canadian too. So I knew there was some similarity somewhere.
Yeah, so growing up, a lot of teachers just butchered my last name, pronounced it Domper, and a bunch of stuff like that. Yeah,
that's terrible.
It hurt, but growing up, we just said Dompier because it was just easier, honestly.
It made you guys like when somebody asked you, you already had like you were saying the word in your house so much that it was like more natural for you to be like, yo, let's just say it this way, because if we say it with the correct pronunciation, we are going to be botched every time.
Yeah, my family wasn't very fancy growing up, so it didn't really fit our vibe as well. So
I don't worry. When I used to live in the States, I had the same problem with my last name. They would say Rosario, and I'm like, what? No, it's all together. You don't have to separate it. What's the deal with that? But well, you can't expect much, because it's like when Koreans come to the United States, they gotta literally change their whole name, and you're like, why? Well, you can, if he's called Su Chang Woo, just keep him Su Chang Woo. Why you gotta change his name into J Williams Park? I'll never understand why things are done that way.
Some Americans are lazy. It's hard for them to learn new things, so they don't want to. So it's easier for someone else to change who they are and how you say it, I guess.
The world will never know. So Miles,
just when did mystery?
I lost you for a second. The internet went.
Oh, we good?
Yeah, now I got you. What was the last thing you said?
Cool. Something about making people pronounce their names differently, something like that. That was the last thing I said.
Yeah, we live in a world where it's nothing. It's like when I talk to Lord Sovereign. Shout out to Lord Sovereign here in Puerto Rico. Fred Flintstone is called Pedro, not Fred. I guess it's like something worldwide to change people's names. I don't know.
Yeah, it translates easier. Yeah, I don't know.
So, well, where we live in. So, Miles, when did your love for video games start off? Were you like a gamer when you were super young, or was it something that grew on you with the pass of time?
Yeah, so my journey into like my love of video games started very early. I remember the first time I ever played a video game. My parents took me and my sister to go visit my aunt and uncle in Oregon. So we were staying over there.
Okay.
And I walked into my aunt's bedroom because she had the Super Nintendo. They just got the Super Nintendo. It was all hooked up. And they were like, hey, you want to check out the Super Nintendo? And I was at this point, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5, like really, really, really little. But I remember seeing this huge map of Hyrule on her wall that came
Whoa.
with the game cartridge. And I was like, whoa, that looks so cool. What is this world? I want to experience that. And so my aunt was like, that's The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. Let's turn it on and boot it up. So she put it in. I got sucked in immediately. We were there for like 2 or 3 days visiting. I spent most of that time playing The Legend of Zelda.
Did you
And
finish it?
then, no, I didn't finish it while I was there,
Oh,
but I remember that Christmas begging my parents, like, please, can we get a Super Nintendo? So for that Christmas, I got a Super Nintendo with Super Mario World and A Link to the Past. And
oh,
that's
you got
it.
the two big hitters.
Oh, the two of it's in retrospect, it's pretty wild that I started off playing some of the best games that have ever been made. I didn't
Lucky
really
you.
think about it at the time. I didn't really have the critical thinking to evaluate why I like those games. I just remember loving those games and playing them over and over and over. And to this day, I still go back and play some of those classic Super Nintendo games. And since then, I've been hooked. My journey has gone from PlayStation or Nintendo to PlayStation to Xbox. I've had my favorites throughout the years, but I've always tried to make it a point to play on everything. At one point in time, I was pretty hardcore into PC gaming, like back in the early PC gaming days. Diablo 2 used to be my jam, still probably one of the games I've played more than any other game. And yeah, pretty much since then, I've been playing video games almost every day of my life.
The Diablo that was remastered not too long ago. Have you delved into it?
I have not. I haven't checked it out. We reviewed it over on Windows Central, and I've heard a lot of good things from my teammates who've been playing. It's a pretty faithful remaster of the original, but I haven't checked it out myself.
Because you probably get sucked back in and you'll never play nothing else.
Exactly. It's a rabbit hole. There's a lot of games coming out right now, and it's hard to divvy up that time, figure out what I'm going to play. So yeah, don't have the time investment for Diablo 2 right now.
Unfortunately, yeah. There's a lot of games that are like time consuming, like Halo Infinite's time consuming. If you got into Assassin's Creed, the last three, they were really time consuming. I'm in Valhalla.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the last expansion, and I've already put 92 hours into it. And I'm like, where did the 92 hours go? How? How did I do
Whew.
this? It's too much time, but it's still entertaining. So your aunt was a video gamer, or was it her room and it was like of her child of hers?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say she was a hardcore gamer by any means, but
Okay.
yeah, my aunt that was her Super Nintendo. So it was my aunt and uncle's Super
Oh,
Nintendo. At that time, I don't think they eventually had a couple kids, but I think at that time it was just them. So it was just my aunt and uncle. So it was just them. The console was for them. They played it. Mostly my aunt played it, and she was big into A Link to the Past, Donkey Kong Country. And then that kind of translated to my mom. So growing up, I
oh.
spent a lot of time with my mom playing Donkey Kong Country because that was the one game that she really loved. So we'd go back and forth. We would take dies and we play some Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3. And again, in hindsight, it's kind of funny that she liked that because she to this day she doesn't play video games at all anymore. But
It
there was
was
a
just
period
like
in time where she
that
was
was just
she,
that period.
yeah, she loved Donkey Kong Country. She loved Crash Bandicoot. And in hindsight, those games are super hard. Those games are really,
Yes.
really hard games. And she was all about them. So it's kind of funny in retrospect to think about that.
You should put your mom to play Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Bloodborne, because she was into the hard thing. She'd probably defeat the game before you do.
That's right. She's been through the gauntlet. She could dive in and throw down with the best of them, but
She hasn't tried it out, right? Nope.
no, she has not. She's never touched Dark Souls.
But you know what the really cool thing is? If you look like the eras of time when we were kids, to see a female, and especially a female past their 20s, playing video games, your family's cool. Because we see women into video games, but we see like more like now. But back then it was like a taboo. The video games are for boys and dolls are for girls. So that's really cool, man. Your family is really interesting.
Yeah, so it's I'm glad gaming's at a point now where it is more accessible and more people around the world are playing it, regardless of how old you are, how young you are. That's been really cool to see because yeah, growing up, there's a lot of stereotypes associated with gaming, who can play games, who can't play games, what type of games you should play, and it's really cool, especially on social media, to go and just see anyone and everyone talking about all sorts of games. Like me, like I love Gears of War, I love Resident Evil, I love a lot of gory, visceral games, but I also love Animal Crossing, and I also love Pokemon and all these wholesome, lighthearted, family-friendly games. So I'm glad that that's kind of where we're at right now, where anyone can play games and it doesn't really matter. Because yeah, growing up, only nerdy kids played video
Yeah,
games. If you were
that's
an
what they were
adult
called.
that played video games, you were like a loser or whatever.
You
They
lived in
wanted
your
to
mom's
spin.
basement and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, exactly. And that's it's like movies and music at this point. Pretty much everyone in the world plays some kind of video game now.
Exactly. Even if you play on your cell phone, that is still a video game. Do not try to
That's right.
act like you're not playing a game. Because I know people are like, oh, yo, you're playing a game. I'm like, what are you doing on your phone? Oh, this is not a game. I'm like, yo, you're interacting and you're moving buttons. So it's still a game.
Candy Crush is still a game. Sorry.
Yeah, it's still a game. There's one game that I was so surprised that you did not mention that you always campaign for. Where is the love for Phantom Dust?
Phantom Dust.
I got
I
you.
will say, probably one of the most vocal Phantom Dust fans on the internet. Phantom Dust was an original Xbox exclusive. It came out during the era when Xbox Live was first popping up. It was one of the first kind of online centric games, and it was this arena battle brawler. So it was basically four people in these battle arenas. You build a deck, and it was like Magic the Gathering meets Dragon Ball Z. And there was nothing like it when it came out, and there's still nothing like it to this day. Papa Phil Spencer of Xbox, they announced they're rebooting it. I was so excited when they announced that reboot of Phantom Dust way back in 2013 or 14. I was ready. I was like, let's go. The world needs to see this. This would do so well. Troubled development. They ended up scrapping the project, and it's been radio silent ever since. So I give Xbox a hard time. I give everyone at Xbox a hard time about it. I will never stop my quest for Phantom Dust. But I don't know if it's actually going to happen. I feel like at this point, the only reason it will happen is just to shut me up.
You'll probably December 8, 9. I remember probably December 8 or 9 when you turn on the TV and you flip to the VGAs out of nowhere, exclusive. And it's like Phantom Dust. And then at the end of it, it'll write like, here's your gift, Miles. Hey, Merry Christmas.
Ooh.
You never
Yeah,
know.
I mean, hey, my birthday is December 9th. The Game Awards are December 9th. So,
There you go.
hey, that'd be a nice little birthday treat for me. I told Jeff Keighley my birthday's on that day, so he better do something special for me. And that would be it. That would be the one Miles mega get hyped, let's go moment would be Phantom Dust coming back as an Xbox and PC exclusive. Let's go.
And it could happen because, it's like you said, it's not like it doesn't exist. It's like they started it and then they're like, yo, well, let's not talk about it until it's ready. So I don't know. It feels like it's the moment. Xbox has come out of nowhere with bats and guns and knives and everything. They've come swinging. So, I think that this could be the moment. We've heard all these projects that are being made and all this. You never know that if one of them is like, let's just finally, now that we have all these studios, let's just finally, finish the game. And they've got so many studios that could do a banger with that game that I know that they have to be working on it.
Yeah, that's my hope. I don't, I'll keep the dream alive. I'll keep fighting the good fight. And if we get Phantom Dust, then you will hear one loud scream that will echo across the world.
In less than 5 seconds, we're gonna see a video uploaded, a Windows Central Gaming saying, "At last." That's all you gotta write.
Whoo, yeah, I'll be ready. I'll wait. I'll wait until the end of time if I have to. But Phantom Dust, yep, #1 Phantom Dust fan. Let's go. Woo!
It's the man. That's why I was kind of surprised when you didn't mention it. I was like, wait a minute. He mentioned Gears, he mentioned all this, but he didn't mention his baby. That's so weird. So, Miles, when and what point of your life or in what moment did you start creating content? And from that content, when did you start delving into creating news? Obviously, we can't make news because if you make news, it's fake news. So, when did you like start dipping into content creation and news and everything in the media? Because you told me a little while ago that you've done more than just what we know you've done.
Yeah, so for a long time, my kind of media, my content creation was this side hustle that I was doing. I went to school for audio production, so I got my degree in audio production, spent some time in the kind of film industry working on sound design for independent films. So I did a few projects like that. Have always been really interested in voiceovers, voice acting. So when I was living in Seattle, after I graduated college, I studied voice acting with Scott Burns, he's a pretty prolific voice actor. He's done the voice of Bowser for a lot of the Mario games, among a bunch of other things, but specifically with video game interests in mind, studied under him for a little while, did some kind of commercial VO for a little bit, just like very, very commercial, like radio kind of voiceover stuff.
That's where the dulcet tone came from.
That's where I'm, professionally trained in the old dulcet tones, but yeah, so that was kind of my introduction into the video game side of it specifically. And then from there, I was working, my full-time jobs, had a bunch of corporate jobs, climbing the old corporate ladder in sales and in I was a district training manager for Fred Meyer, which is this chain in Washington State. So I was basically the person who trained all the manager candidates to be managers for the home electronics department at Fred Meyer. And while I was doing that, I was doing my side hustle at home after work, which was this website called What's Your Tag, which started out as a web comic that my friend and I started. And we did video game centric web comics. Think of like Penny Arcade. This was kind of in that era. That's kind of what we were going for, kind of what we were ripping off. It was him and I personified as these little cartoon characters doing this weekly web comic. And then from there, that web comic turned into a website where we did news, reviews, and other stuff. And from there, started branching out and, working with independent publishers to get review codes for independent games and doing written reviews, video reviews. And I remember with What's Your Tag, reaching out to Capcom to get a code for Dragon's Dogma. Or not even a code. This is before codes. This is when they were going to send me a disc. And I remember Capcom reaching out and saying, we're going to send you a disc of Dragon's Dogma. And I was like, what? Capcom's going to send me a game? This is wild. So did some events, did some, went to some conventions under What's Your Tag. And then I fell out of it completely. I was like tired of the side hustle. I was working the corporate job. I shut down What's Your Tag, stopped doing that completely, transitioned full-time into basically a chain territory manager and a supervisor for several counties in California for a spirits distribution company. So I was selling alcohol to basically bougie hotels and bars and restaurants and helping them kind of consult on their cocktail menus. So I was doing that to pay the bills, and then did that for a couple of years. And I was like, okay, well, I miss what I was doing before. Like, even if I have to go back to doing it as the side hustle, like I got to figure out a way to make it work. So I reached out and applied for a Pokemon writer position with a website called iMore, which is part of my current parent company, Future. And basically applied to write Pokemon guides. I was like, I love Pokemon. Let me ease my way back into this. Let me try this. So threw my name in there. Jez Corden, of all people, saw my application and saw that I had some experience doing video. And he's like, hey, we're looking to dabble with some social video content for Windows Central Gaming. Would you Would you want to try? And I was like, yeah, let's go. I have some experience. I'm comfortable. So I started out doing social video. So not my face, not my voice, just kind of animations and text for our social graphics on Windows Central Gaming. Started doing some silly memes, some other content like that. And then as I demonstrated that I could do that pretty well, it started kind of progressing from there. And it eventually led to me doing kind of video editorials, doing video pieces for Windows Central, building up that channel, which I think when I started, we had like 2,100 subs, and they hadn't really done anything with it in years. They started it like in 2017 or no, 2015 maybe, did a couple things for a year or two, and then it was dead until I basically jumped on.
It was dead for like
and
5 years.
Yeah, in a pretty short period of time, we're just under 25,000 subscribers, which, you know, isn't huge in the grand scheme of things, but it's been a huge growth, and it's been this cool opportunity for me to kind of demonstrate my personality in the gaming world, I guess. So that's been my journey into what I'm doing now.
Yeah, and for you people that do not know what he's doing right now, obviously every Saturday he is the man that's in charge of Xbox Chatter Days. I love the pun you put there. I'm like, this guy is very creative. So Xbox Chatter Days, where did the idea come from? Is it like, did you pitch it, or was it something like Jess like said, yo, you know, everybody's got like their daily shows, Saturdays a day that there's really nobody on? Because obviously you got Mondays, you got Colt Eastwood, Tuesdays you got Dealer, Sundays you got the Lords of Gaming. So let's take a Saturday. So was it your idea? Was it Jez's idea? Or was it somebody a little bit upper?
So yeah, this was a collaboration between Jez and I initially. So Xbox Chatter Days is a show that I host every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. It is basically a live podcast with myself and one other guest from the games industry or gaming community. So originally the pitch of the show was Jez and I, because if you haven't checked out what we do at Windows Central Gaming for the video side, I spend a lot of time with production, with editing, and I put a lot of work into my videos. So
a lot of work.
I don't do a lot of news over there. I don't typically cover the news on that channel because it takes a lot of work. And by the time I get the video done, the news
already passed. Yeah,
exactly. So this started as a way to basically talk about the news of the week in a way that didn't require me to edit like a 18-hour video on this section. So that started, I was like, Jez, let's do it. You and I. So it started off as Jez and I. So the first few episodes were Jez Corden and myself talking about the big Xbox news of the week. And then Jez kind of overcommitted himself a little bit because he has Xbox 2 on Fridays. He works most weekends. And so it eventually became my show. And so it transitioned from Jez and I every week to myself, and I line up a lot of guests. So I've had Jeff Grubb, I've had Blessing, I've had Paris Lilly, I've had Destin Legary. I've had a lot of really cool people from the games industry who, you know, kind of lean towards Xbox. Obviously, it's an Xbox-centric show.
Obviously.
But we touch on kind of the broad picture of the gaming industry. And it's been really cool for me because the reception of that show has been incredibly positive. It's had really, really great growth, great consistent viewers week over week. And again, this whole thing for me is weird. I've only really been in the industry, quote unquote, for a couple of years now. And a lot of people are excited about what I'm doing. And that's, for me, incredible because I spent so much time, you know, outside of the gaming industry, you know, doing my kind of own thing, trying to find my place in this big grand world. And now I'm kind of at a point where, you know, to some people, I am, you know, a figure worth listening to, which is cool.
It's something, you know, I always say that when you have the talent, when it's what they call it in Spanish, innato, when it's like from inside of you, the moment you just turn the camera on, the moment you turn the mic on, you know, it just flows. It just comes out. It's just like Steve Dons with Master Chief. The moment he opens his mouth, you're like, the guy is it. And the dulcet tone man is the guy. And and Jez was a genius for picking you up, because the reason that everything went skyrocketing is because when you start talking, you talk like with confidence, but you talk professional, and you talk with what we call in Puerto Rico the flow. So when you start with the flow and all that, it's like, yo, we gotta sit down and watch. And what you were saying a little while ago is true. I've seen that the videos, for these people that have not seen it, it's Windows Central Gaming. I have seen that the videos are it's interesting because most people spend hours and hours making like a news, and then the next day, news is evolving. The next day, the news is already dead. So it's cool that you do videos like when you were talking about the Souls games, which you were saying like, yo, this is something that people should try out, or when you did the Phantom Dust, or what you wrote a little while ago. There was the 2,000 words. Like I said, if you would have put 21, it would have been 2021. It would have been better. So what you do lately, well, I mean, lately, what you do literally is speak about certain topics that people are interested in, and you give it a like your own flavor, and that is cool, and that's why people watch the videos and they come out for the chatter days. Shadow Days is interesting because every show talks about news, but you talk about news, but you like flip it into a different thing. And the cool thing is that even though you guys are Windows, and for whoever lives underneath a rock, Windows is Xbox. You also talk about Nintendo stuff and Sony stuff, and that is cool in the broad spectrum of it all, because unfortunately we live in an era in which console wars, which I say it's stupid, is something that is starting to take over the web lately. And now that Microsoft is doing things the correct way, well, now there's more hate to it. So, that's why your show is enjoying, man. So you gotta keep doing it the way you're doing it, and you never know. You'll probably end up back on radio and WKA.
Oh yeah, there we go. No, I mean it's awesome for me, and it's why I like doing this and why I spend so much time doing this, because I like having those big conversations about video games. I love hearing people's stories about why they've connected with the game, why they love a game, and for me, that's not tied to one platform. Obviously, I like Xbox, I focus on Xbox, but I love PlayStation, I love Nintendo, I love gaming as a whole, and basically the stories and the worlds that they can offer that music, movies, other mediums can't. And so I always try to, even Xbox Chatter Days, our videos on Windows Centrals, I always try to have a conversation with the people watching, because to me that's interesting. That's why I spend arguably way too much time on Twitter, because I want to have those conversations with people. I want to hear their side of things. I want to see what makes them kind of click as a gamer, and there's just so much cool stuff to talk about there. So yeah, again, I'm glad it's resonating with people, because again, for me, it's fascinating. I love having those conversations.
And it's like I said, as long as the conversations are like you say something, I say something, and there's like this kind of a battle. Like lately,
Oh
I've had
yes.
I've lately, sometimes you just can't say something on the internet because people like kind of like turn it into another thing. Like what's happening with Halo. There was some dude that was like blowing up, writing to Bonnie Ross and all that. And I'm telling the guy like, yo, chill. These are cosmetics. Cosmetics are better than charging you for something to pay to win, which is my huge problem with NBA 2K. I used to buy NBA 2K every year until I realized that there was just a point that if you wanted to be good, you had to pay. And those kind of things are stuff that I wish the community would like jump on more and be like, like on 2K's rear end, and be like, yo, you guys got to quit doing this. On the other hand, of jumping on 343 for putting cosmetics, and it's like what you wrote, there is ways to change it, to modify. Even Destin was talking about it, and 343 did say that they were listening, and obviously it's Thanksgiving. They're not robots. We have to give them time for them to eat and be with their family and then recharge and do stuff. But certain people have taken it too far, and it's just like I was telling the guy, it's just cosmetics. It's just to make you look cool. It does not affect your gameplay. It doesn't make you faster. It doesn't give you more armor. So in that regard, I'm cool. If I got to grind to something, well, I'll grind. Obviously, we know that they're not going to keep it like this because thank God Microsoft has been really responsive with what the community asks for. So there will be a change. But to those that are harassing 343 and Bonnie and Sketch and John, please, it's just cosmetics. If it would be a pay to win situation, we would all Windows Central, you guys would be on them like, yo, this is not necessary, but it's cosmetic, people. Quit harassing these people. They're not robots, they're humans. They have to have vacation. Who knows? They've probably been working on this since the game was repushed. And you're like telling them, yo, no, you're not gonna have Thanksgiving. You're gonna fix this. Yo, enjoy the game. The game is incredibly addictive. The game is incredibly fun. Cosmetics are cosmetics. It's just to make you look cool. It's not gonna change the way you play. I don't understand.
Yeah, it's one of those things where there's this loss of kind of human connection when we talk to people online. There's this disconnect here that gives people this sense that they can say whatever they want, however they want to anyone. And there's no empathy there. It's someone saying, I want this, you didn't give me this, so you're bad. Here's why you're bad. Here's why you're terrible. Here's why this game sucks. And it's nothing but hyperboles and rhetoric and all these extremes. And I can tell you with confidence, as someone who's talked to developers, if you are willing to give them constructive criticism, they don't want you to ignore everything that's wrong with the game. No developer wants you to ignore it, but you need to be able to articulate what's wrong in a way that's not hostile, in a way that's not attacking the developer, making them feel terrible. Because like you said, they've spent years and years and years of their lives sacrificed so much free time to get this game to you so you can play it. And the last thing they want is for people to say, this sucks, I hate this. That's got to be a miserable feeling. So I understand there are criticisms we can point to. I wrote a ton of criticisms of Halo Infinite's multiplayer and the progression system. But I did so in a way that says, this is how it can improve. These are other games we can point to from Xbox, whether it be Sea of Thieves, whether it be Gears 5, that have proven that you can improve, you can do it right. And I have every confidence that they will. They've told us they are responding. They've told us they are listening, and they're going to implement changes to make people happier. But yeah, it's sad that people feel the need to be so nasty about it, because we can complain, we can criticize something, and it doesn't have to be a fight, a verbal or physical fight about it.
And the other thing is that I think that some people forget that the game does say beta on the bottom of it, which means, this is just for you to enjoy it in the meanwhile. It's not fully, it's out, but obviously it's coming out before the time it's supposed to come out, just for people to have something to enjoy in the meanwhile. So please remember, people, it's still a beta. This is literally, if you play the flighting, this is literally the same thing. It's the same flighting, but with more maps. So just like you said, let's just let them do their thing. I'm more than sure that from here in a year after, people are going to forget completely this progression system, because I know that they're going to change it. They're going to change it.
Yeah, exactly. And in the grand scheme of things, I'm sure we'll all move past this and we'll all be having a blast with Halo Infinite. And again, we can have these conversations. I think it's perfectly fine, perfectly healthy for people to express criticisms of a game. I don't think that there's anything fundamentally wrong with that. Just be aware of how you're doing it, and be aware of the fact that there are people on the other end of that criticism.
That's true. And these are people that, even if some other humans do not believe it, they probably have problems in their family, or problems, mental issues, or something that is very real in these times. And I've seen people do harmful things to themselves for less. So let's please give them space. It's just like what happened with this lady. I always forget her name. That she did the semi-villain of The Last of Us 2, that literally everybody tried to kill her online. I was like, what is wrong with people?
Yeah, it's video games at the end of the day. Like, I don't understand the raw hatred, the raw anger that's directed towards, any of the process related to video games. So again, there's zero need to attack anyone. And, again, we can criticize something about a video game, but if you can't have fun talking about video games, take a step back and just don't. Just don't. It doesn't have to be ugly every single time you interact with something online. And it's easy to feed into that and find reasons to fight with people online, but it doesn't always have to. Even if you disagree, you can disagree in a way that says, hey, I see where you're coming from. That's, I understand, but this is where I'm at. And if you can acknowledge how someone else feels, why they might feel that way, it opens up a real conversation, where if you come in hot and you come in aggressive, the conversation's done. There is no conversation. Now it's a fight.
It's just one-sided, and nothing works if it's one-sided. And I don't understand. When I see something that, or probably, I don't like is, I have a problem. Whoever's playing Call of Duty Vanguard on your Series X, I personally have a problem that when I put on these babies, which is the Xbox Stereo headset. Yes, a pun for Microsoft. There you go. I hope I see my check in the mail. When I connect it to my Xbox controller, my Elite 2, as soon as I start the game, I'm like this. And I cannot control the game. My controller completely shuts off. And Activision has not fixed that bug. And I wrote online, there's a couple other people are having the same issue as me. They have not fixed it. And it's been 3 weeks, 2 weeks, I don't know. So I just write in Twitter, I'm like, yo, you guys got this issue. The issue is when you do this or this and that. If you could please look into it, I'll be grateful. I'm not like, yo, this game's trash and piece of crap. What are you doing taking off this thing right now? Though after time and they ignore what you're saying, well, then you have to be a little bit more specific and try to get a little bit more aggressive. Like, yo, if you keep doing this, I'm not going to buy your game. But, respect them.
Yeah, exactly.
Respect is everything. So I see you. This is a question that I always wanted to ask you. Those two big bad guys you got behind you, which is Zero and Mega Man. Where did they come from? Where did you buy them? Are you a Mega Man enthusiastic, or was it just something you saw and said, "Yo, this works for me"?
Yeah, so I love Mega Man. Mega Man X, one of my favorite games of all time.
Yes.
Really love that series. Love the platforming action. So when I lived in California, there was this really cool place called Frankensons, which was basically a giant nerd flea market. So they had Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, a bunch of people setting up booths for like retro video games, collectibles. So you could go there and it was like a couple acres, this humongous indoor warehouse of just collectibles that people would bring in and sell. So there was one particular booth that made these, basically, it's kind of like a foam print. And they had a whole series of Mega Man. So they had Mega Man X, they had Zero, they had Proto Man, they had all these. And so with Mega Man X being my favorite, I had to get Mega Man X specifically and then Zero.
Yo, that's so cool. Why do those kind of things don't exist in Puerto Rico? To find something video game related in the island is very complicated because GameStop left Puerto Rico like 10 years ago. And we haven't really had anything video game centric in the island. So if you want to get something that's like video game mystic, you have to go to Walmart, but Walmart doesn't sell anything like that. Best Buy doesn't sell anything like that. So we've really been hit with the elbow in the face and what's video game stuff. So yeah, I envy your time in California.
Yeah, so that's again, like I'm grateful I moved out of California. I like it. It's fun. But that's one thing. There's so many people in California that it's easy for that to exist because so many people are there, have so much stuff that they want to sell. So we have this big gamer utopia basically, and it's something I go through. Anytime somebody would visit from out of state, I would take them to Frankensons because it was like this big kind of experience, especially if you were interested at all in video games or collectibles.
Does Frankenstein does it still exist? Is it still open for what you know?
As far as I know, yeah. Still, it's like a every other weekend kind of thing. So it's not open all the time. It's like a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's like a one time a week like flea market.
It's pretty much a gamer flea market. Exactly.
Dang, yo, I gotta come to the island, man. There's a lot of people that buy a lot of stuff here. So, is there anybody in specific, either in the video game world or not video game world, that you would love to have on Xbox Chatter Day that you haven't been able to bring?
Obviously, Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer would be a huge get. Like that is top of my list. Number one would be getting Phil Spencer on the show. Who knows if that could happen? Maybe one day potentially. Sarah Bond, another key figure of Xbox that I'd love to have on. Yeah, and then outside of that, if we're looking outside of the gaming space specifically, totally unrelated for the most part, but Bruce Campbell. If I could somehow connect Bruce Campbell with the Evil Dead game and get him on
Yes.
Xbox Chatter Days, there we go. That would be a dream come true. Huge horror nerd, huge Bruce Campbell fan, stoked for the Evil Dead game, and so that's somebody outside of the video game space I just want to sit down and have a beer with, honestly. So,
You know what the really cool thing is that like he's gonna have a video game. You guys should like start sending emails to the PR because I don't think that it's out of the realm of possibilities because obviously his lightlessness is in the game. So it's not like the PR is gonna be like, yo, why? It's like, yo, he's in the game. So
let's get a let's play. Bruce Campbell let's play of Evil Dead. Let's do it.
Yo, I'm like, yo, Jez, or whoever's in charge of the PR, send that email because it is a possibility because the game does come out. It comes out pretty soon, right?
February right now, unless it gets delayed. The target is February 2022, right next to Elden Ring. Let's go.
Oh my God. 2022 is going to be insane. Everybody's like saying certain things like this guy's got no games and this other one got no game. But next year is going to be full of so many games that I really don't know how we're going to even have time to play them. It's right now in these particular moments, the Game Pass is chucking so many games that it's hard. Just imagine when all consoles have games, I can't do it, I'm like, forget about daylight savings time and adding an hour, add 12 extra hours a day, push the earth further from the sun, close to the meteor. Well, we got to go over the meteor belt. We don't want to hit those baddies, but push it further so we can have more time because I am telling you that in between Halo, Forza, Assassin's Creed, Yakuza Like a Dragon, wow, what else? Yo, I'm playing so many games right now that I don't have time. Yeah, I really don't remember them all, but there's too many games, and 2022 is going to be insane. So outside of Elden Ring, is there any other game in particular that you're looking forward for next year?
Yeah, kind of my most anticipated right now are Evil Dead, the game, Elden Ring, Pokemon Legends Arceus. What else? Oh, Starfield. Starfield's coming out next year, and then probably Redfall. I'm really curious to see what Redfall ends up being because I'm a big co-op guy. I mostly play co-op. I mostly play multiplayer. So hearing Arcane make a co-op game, that has me really excited. So that's kind of my list right now, and I'm sure there's a ton of stuff I'm blanking on because February alone has Horizon Forbidden West. It has so much more. It's stacked, like you said. It's going to be impossible to play them all, so we're going to have to kind of cherry pick the ones that we can handle, and then hope that the back half of the year is not as stacked as the first half.
I have a problem with that. My cousin's always like, yo, let's go on and play this. But then he sees I'm playing something else. And then he's like, yo, if you keep doing it, you're never going to finish nothing. And I'm like, I will finish it any given time, but I have to play everything at the same time. Thank goodness my memory is perfect and I remember the control schemes and I remember the story because I am running through so many games at the same time that it's insane.
Yeah, that is a problem that I've tried to wean myself off of because I used to do the same. I would start 3 open world RPGs at once.
No.
And beat none of them. And so I was like, I got to stop. I got to just pick one, focus on that, beat it, and then move on to the next thing because I'll never come back to it.
Yeah, I try to always come back to it, but unfortunately, when I was when I know probably you were the same. When we were kids, like there wasn't so many games, so like you would actually be able to finish them. I remember all my SNES games, which was 575, I finished them all. But now I can't do it. Obviously, we gotta work and we gotta do all this thing. But I think that even if you take out the work period of life, you still can't finish all those games.
No, even if I was completely unemployed, had unlimited free time, there still isn't enough free time in a single day to play everything that I want to play. And so I've made it a point to be like, okay, do I need to play this? Can this wait? And basically have this list of priorities for games. I got a calendar now for my gaming schedule. That's how packed gaming is right now. And it's exciting. It's really cool, but it's always a bummer when you get that FOMO, when you see one of your friends playing a game that looks really cool. And you just know you can't do it right now. You want to, but you just can't. And so that's where I'm at. I'm trying to get better about that because yeah, I've bought a lot of games that I've never beaten because of that.
Yeah, I had the same issue. You know, I had pre-ordered Battlefield because I was like, in between October, yeah, October, it was supposed to come out in October. Between October, which they then transferred it to November. Between November and December, I can have a little bit of time to play some Battlefield. But then Xbox did what nobody, well, some people knew it, but I personally didn't expect them to do it because we know Microsoft like this kind collective. Xbox is like this kind and collective. Phil Spencer is like this dude who's like, yo, we'll give you the time to shine. We're paying your marketing rights for Battlefield. And I was like, Phil Spencer, there's no way in hell that Phil Spencer will do to EA and be like, I got your marketing and I'm gonna kill your game. But he did. So I had to cancel Battlefield. I'm kind of sorry, I've played all the Battlefields, but I can't, I'm in Halo. I can't jump Halo, Battlefield. So EA, I promise you, I will buy your game later on and I will play it. But Phil Spencer, he just killed you for me. I'm so sorry. It's sad. It's sad.
There's only so much time in the day, and yeah, Battlefield, it had a rocky launch. Even before the official launch, it was rocky. The impressions were a little rough, which didn't help the launch. And then, like you said, Halo Infinite Shadow dropping on a Monday didn't help it either. So I will come back to Battlefield 2042 at some point, but I'm in no rush based on the current state of the game, honestly.
And the crazy thing is that I really don't know why, but ever since Battlefield, well, the one they call Battlefield 1, because obviously Battlefield 1 is a long time ago, but ever since Battlefield 1 to now, they've been launching really weird. And what's so insane is that Battlefield 2042, for the people that do not know it, has like 8 or 7 studios working on it. And with so many studios and so many people and so many heads, I don't know what happened. I don't know where did it cross wrong. I just saw somebody do this glitch that they threw the helicopter inside a building to hide, and I'm like, what is happening here?
Yeah, it's one of those things. If we look at Halo Infinite, we see exactly what a full year can do. If your game is not ready, hopefully these teams can start convincing investors like it's going to be better in the long term if we can delay these, because you start to erode the trust of the people who are going to buy your games, and they start second guessing, like, should I buy this at launch? Your last one wasn't that great. Maybe I need to wait. And obviously you make a lot of money up front. There's still a ton of people who bought Battlefield. It was one of the top selling games on Steam. So people still bought it. They still made their money. But I wonder if long term that hurts the kind of public relationships.
I think so. My cousin was fighting with me saying that he feels that Battlefield 2042 will probably be in EA access not too long from now. And I'm like, it's probably possible because of that same reason.
Yeah. Again, and we've seen EA getting more aggressive with how soon they put their games into EA Play. So we've seen games come in as soon as 6 months. So maybe that's been the kind of goal with Battlefield. You get that initial batch of people who are the diehards that are going to buy it and play it anyway, and then 6 months later you pull in a new audience once the game works.
It's insane. Which we'll be in that audience. So yeah, you'll have us, not fully, unless by chance EA Play leaves Game Pass Ultimate, which then you will get our money. But if not, thank you, Phil. We will play it either ways. So the cool thing about Redfall is it sounds cool. It sounds interesting. Outside of those little photos that some people took that you shouldn't, we really don't know a lot about it. I feel like Arcane will probably show something because, just like you said, we're almost at the date that it's supposed to launch. So I don't know if it'll be at the VGAs or Microsoft will probably do like their Inside Xbox. But I feel like Redfall could really hit the itch for those people that love Borderlands but did not enjoy Borderlands 3. Because I, for one, love Borderlands, but Borderlands 3 story of, like this YouTube sensation people and all that just like turned me off. So I think Redfall could really, dig into that market and make a mark. So what do you expect of Redfall? Do you expect to see something from it soon? Um, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they told us that this game is coming in summer, and if that's still the case, if that's still the plan, and they're aiming to ship it this summer, I could see maybe a new gameplay trailer at the Game Awards because, as you mentioned, with stuff that leaked, the people were play testing it, so there is a playable build that exists somewhere for Redfall. So that project's pretty far along. It would be really great to see a brand new gameplay trailer that shows exactly what the game is because there's a lot of confusion, honestly, when they revealed the CG trailer. People were like, is this Left 4 Dead? This looks like Left 4 Dead. And they had to come out and say, no, this isn't like Left 4 Dead. That's not what we're trying to make. And so people still think it's like Left 4 Dead because that's kind of the vibe that the CG trailer gives us. So Arcane is known for player agency. They're known for giving players the tools to mess around and have fun in like a sandbox. So I want that formula translated to 4-player co-op. So I want cool abilities, I want cool gadgets, I want kind of supernatural powers, and those things have all been shown in the CG trailer that we've seen. And now I just want to see it in action. I want to see it in action, and I want to know when we're going to be able to play it because again, Arcane, as we saw with Deathloop, all the nominations they got this year, they know how to make a great sandbox. And if they can expand that sandbox and let me play that with friends, I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, we're all ready, and the thing that the video game people have been doing, obviously the developers now because of COVID, is like sending codes to people to test them out. I feel like in the long run they're gonna have to revert to bringing peoples to the studios because this has been something that's been happening lately of people breaking their NDAs, showing photos and showing videos, and it really it kind of hurts the industry because we saw the damage that it did to Redfall with those old photos. There's always like these Xbox haters, or there's always like the Sony haters, and when they see these early super alpha build, they always want to criticize something. And I feel that at some point in time, they're gonna have to revert back to going to the studio and doing this play testing because Redfall could have really gotten hurt if they wouldn't have come out and like explaining, like if guys like you and Dealer wouldn't have come out and say, yo, these are super old builds, you can't take this like the real product.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think a lot of people don't realize how small of a percentage that is and how most people didn't see that. Most people who would play Redfall didn't see that. And obviously there's the people online who have a motivation for making one platform look better than another, and that's a whole different conversation. Those people are going to point out the flaws in the textures and the environments, but anyone who has any nuance or rational thought can say this is an alpha build. There are textures missing from this. This is a game in active development. We have a release window, but it's still a ways off. Most people can look at that and say, okay, well, here's a snippet of what this is. But in terms of going back to in person, we'll probably see more of that. But I know for a fact a lot of developers are leaning heavily into remote for almost everything, and they're gonna stay that way. So I don't know if everything will go back to in person. Some people likely will, but there's still a lot of people who won't, and this will be a problem they have to kind of figure out.
The weird thing is, sometimes when we test out these alpha builds and all that, it like puts your gamer tag somewhere so they know who did it. It was really weird why Redfall didn't do that, because when you do that, you're literally obligating this person to like, okay, if you do leak this, I'm going to know who you are. And that is something that if it stays remote, they should like consider doing that more, like putting it's called the I blanked for a second. It's when your name comes out in the screen that has a name, it's a watermark. They should use more watermarks.
Yes. Yeah.
They should use more watermarks so then that way you know who's doing it, because it sometimes, as like you said, very few people saw it, but there is there's well, I'm not gonna say the names, but there's a certain website here in Puerto Rico that's pretty famous and talking about video games, and they literally killed the hype for Redfall in Puerto Rico. So those kind of things are what I'm trying to avoid, per se.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If Arcane, if you're hearing us, so watermark next time. So for the people that are watching and see that beautiful guitar in the background, yes, this man is a musician. So before we get into a little thing I was talking to you a little while ago, I'd like to know, when did your love for music commence? Did you study music or was it something that you learned on your own?
Yeah, so like video games, I've loved music pretty much my entire life. My dad was a big influence for me music wise. He was a big punk guy. So he was into a lot of early 70s, 80s punk, a lot of the legacy bands like the Misfits, Dead Kennedys, a lot of these bands that we see in Hot Topic nowadays. He was
Yeah.
listening to a lot of them, back in their heydays, back when they were playing in dive bars and stuff. So he showed me a lot of his records. So early on, my dad growing up listened to a ton of music, played a lot of records that introduced me to a lot of bands. And then as I started, getting a little bit older into my, teenish years, I started kind of experimenting with, what do I like? What obviously I've influenced my dad's punk music, listened to a lot of that, started branching out and listening to more modern bands, more modern punk. And that kind of grew my love for metal. So I'm a big
Ooh.
metalhead. Listen to a lot of metal music. I remember, listening to Megadeth, Peace Sells, but Who's Buying for the first time, and just having that album blow my mind. Like the guitar solos, the music, the intensity of it. I didn't know you could make music like that. It took what I knew from classic punk and just elevated everything, and I was hooked. So I went down the rabbit hole, listened to a bunch of Megadeth, Testament, Slayer, had a thrash phase, and as I got older, it just got heavier and heavier, and I wanted heavier, more aggressive music consistently. Started listening to straight death metal, Cannibal Corpse, Autopsy, a lot of that really heavy stuff. Transition into the modern death metal scene, deathcore scene with bands like Born of Osiris, Whitechapel, Suicide Silence, and then in college, I met some really good friends who were also studying audio production, also love metal. And we formed a band in Seattle called A City Screams in Terror.
Oh my
So
God.
if you're curious, if you're interested to see what kind of music that I make, we have one EP out there called Beginnings, and it's like 9 tracks, but it's death metal, it's aggressive music, it's all screaming. We played 7-string guitars, like it's loud, it's aggressive, it's heavy. So for me, I listen to all sorts of stuff. I love Prince, I love David Bowie. I love a lot of, weird abstract bands like Faith No More, Mr. Bungle. I'm kind of all over the spectrum. When it comes to what I've just always connected and always come back to over the years, it's been metal and that heavy music. So that's, for me, I took guitar lessons growing up, but for the most part, I was self-taught, either, listening, playing stuff by ear, or going online, learning tabs for some of my favorite metal songs. So yeah, I've been playing guitar for 17 years, I want to say. Like I've been playing guitar for a long time. So I don't play as much as I used to, but yeah, for a while I was going around playing shows, and headbanging, dude, getting after it.
That's insane. 17 years, it's quite a while. So where specifically can the EP be found? Is this like on Spotify or iTunes, or is it like in a specific website?
So for a while it was on MySpace. It was back in the MySpace days.
That was the place to go for music.
Yeah, so that's where we were for a while. But you can find it on YouTube if you just search "A City Screams in Terror." It was actually funny. I was just randomly trying to find one of our tracks to show a friend, and I just searched it on YouTube, and somebody had like re-uploaded the album to this like metal like retrospective.
You made it, man.
I was like, what? People actually remember this? This is so weird. But yeah, so you can find it there if you're curious to check out some Seattle death metal.
Why did you guys quit though? Why did you guys like disband and everybody did their own thing?
It was actually when I was moving to California. So that was the main reason, is that, my now wife and I were moving to California, and most of the band was staying in Washington State. And sadly, that was it. I was like, hey guys, I'm out. And they didn't really continue beyond that, I guess. So yeah. You could
You
say
know
I
the
broke up the band, I guess.
Yeah, you're mean, you're evil, you destroy bands. You were going to go into Purgatory for destroying the band. You know what the really sad thing is? Probably if you guys would have done that right now, with the magic of technology, you guys gonna continue because you could like record at this place and they could record that, and then you could all just join stuff together. It's sad that you guys weren't doing it now because I'm more than sure you guys could continue. I for my EP, for those that know me, I do music too. I recorded for my EP. I recorded with a guy from South Korea, and that's something that back in the past it would have been impossible. So
Yep.
the technology is here for good as well as it is for bad. So yeah, that's sad, man. You guys should do one day like this reunion and like do like this, do like a City Screams terror like reunion online. You can even do it via Zoom, which each one touching the instrument and singing. That would be cool. Because the cool thing, even if
It'd be
you
fun.
don't, even if you don't realize it, is that a lot of people go for local bands. The difference into Puerto Rico and the States is that here in Puerto Rico, when you're like a local band or a local scene and all that, nobody really cares. But in the States, it's something that like people truly, no, not
Oh, kitty cam.
yeah, yep. Every time I'm interviewing somebody important, he has to appear. He's like, I want to be famous. But yeah, bad kitty. Don't do that. You made me lose my thought. But yeah, in the States, it's cool because people really dig, local artists. So you probably won't believe it, but probably if you guys do like this reunion of sorts, you probably get a couple of subs.
Yeah, I'll run up by the guys, see what's up. It's been a minute, but it would be fun. I do miss playing music live because there's the energy that you put out and the crowd feeds back, and especially with metal, there's just so much energy in the crowd. You can feel it and it resonates. So yeah, I used to love going to metal shows. Still go to metal shows, but haven't played one myself in a hot minute.
Oh, that that's not an excuse. You're not running away from me, bro. I got you red-handed. Even though you haven't played in like 20 years, I'm still gonna play something. Because this is real North Talk talent, man. And every artist that touches my show has to always sing or play something because it's like the red carpet. It's like at the end of the red carpet, they're like, yo, for you to pass, you gotta see something. Oh, okay, yeah, you didn't pass. So we're in that moment of the red carpet. So people, all of you from Seattle, all of you from the world, all of you from Puerto Rico, WKIM, Radio Colorado, here we have directly from Seattle, the man that will blow your heads with his guitar. So hear it up for Miles Dompier and the Assassini. So whenever you're ready, Maestro.
Let me get this axe here. I'll play a little lick for you. Oh yeah, bust out the old acoustic here. Do a little acoustic set.
Yes, sir. Give the people what they paid for.
So I don't have my 7-string hooked up here. Don't have the massive amp ready to rock. But
don't worry, we'll make it rock no matter how. Tell me where you wanna go. I'll be there. I'll be there. It's the Miles Dompier in the air. Says we are there for you. Oh, we did it here. All you heard improvised by the man Miles Dompier in the Assassini, because you're not stop telling, man. You did it, so you still got it.
We did it. When you asked me to have a guitar ready, I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but hey, we made it happen.
I told you, just believe in the real nonstop talent. We will get it. We will get it done.
Well, I'm glad we could bust out a little impromptu jam for y'all out there.
I know now everybody in your family is going to want to see this interview. They're going to be like, you did what? You guys did? Oh, we got to see this now. This is much CTV.
That's right. Bust out the old acoustic there.
Your guys are from Seattle are going to be like, yo, we got to do that EP. There's no excuse. You record at your house and you send it to us.
People are demanding it now. People are ready for the A City Screams in Terror comeback.
You know it. And now it's going to be called the City Screams in Terror / The Assassini. So Miles, where can the fans find you? Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, and iTunes.
Ooh, the whole nine. Yeah. So again, thanks so much for having me on. Ton of fun. If you want to get a hold of me, I am on Twitter. Like I said, way too much at Miles Dompier. If you want to check out what I'm working on, it's over at Windows Central. Specifically, the video stuff that I do is Windows Central Gaming. We just added Xbox Chatter Days to iTunes and Spotify after a lot of requests and me putting it off for a long time. That is up there. So if you want to check out the show, we had Jeff Grubb on last week. We're going to have Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, on this week. And yeah, again, if you really want to get a hold of me, if you really want to talk, like you mentioned at the beginning of the show, I'm on Twitter a lot. Just reach out. If you want to shoot me a DM to ask about something, if you have an idea about a game or a thought about a game, I'm on Twitter too much. But I really do enjoy having these conversations and just talking to people. So
no, that's awesome. Trust me, people. Check him out on Twitter. You're going to enjoy what he says, the stories, the anecdotes, the interaction. And that's cool. You're going to actually have Randall Tomato. For those people who forgot.
Randall Mato coming in hot.
Yeah, because he thinks that we forgot about that, but you're always going to be the tomato. Don't you think we're going to forget that?
That's right. There's still that exclusive Randall Tomato merch out in the world. So
true. He's probably making more money off of that than he's making off of YouTube. And it's insane. It's insane. Well, then nothing else. It was a pleasure to have you here. Glad that you enjoyed your time. I'm glad that we made that music possible. This is like you're saying, you know, I was like, yo, probably he says yes. And at the last second, he's like, my fingers hurt, or I don't have enough calluses and all that. Because I've heard excuses from people that touch guitar. I've heard them all. But glad you did it. I know the song will probably be, they'll probably ask for the song. We'll probably end up recording it for Spotify and iTunes, because we live in a world where strange things really do happen. So it was a pleasure to have you here, my brother. Glad you enjoyed. You truly have a talent with that guitar. You really have a true talent with what you do on YouTube and what you write. And great voice, man. Envy the voice. So nothing. What else can we do here? So nothing, people. This is Miles Dompier from Windows Central Gaming, and this is Rabio Assassini. So, mi gente, sigan en sintonía. Till next time. Peace.
The song, it's called